Audio track 4.2. Blames.
Disappointment.
Judging.
Performed.
Perspective.
Reaction.
Realistic.
Regrets.
Self-confident.
Weakness.
Audio track 4.3.
What is emotional intelligence?
What is emotional intelligence? Well, in 1995, a science journalist named Daniel Goleman published a book called Emotional Intelligence. In the book, he argued that a person's emotional intelligence is a better sign of how that person will perform in work and life than their IQ, which is the standard test of mental ability. He wasn't the first person to use the term emotional intelligence. The psychologists Peter Salovey and John Mayer had already published a paper on it in 1990. However, Goleman's book became the most important work on the subject and is now essential reading at business schools and in leadership training programs. By developing your emotional intelligence, Goleman says, you can build more successful relationships, both at work and in your personal life. Indeed, he argues that it is this ability to build relationships and not the ability to, say, solve a math problem that will help you progress in your career. According to Goleman, there are 5 elements that make up emotional intelligence. First is self-awareness. Self-awareness is knowing yourself well. It is the ability to know what your strengths and weaknesses are, understand your feelings, and understand the impact your feelings have on others. People with self-awareness are self-confident and have a realistic perspective on what they can and can't do. If you ask a self-aware person to do something and they don't feel able to do it, they'll say they can't. In contrast, a person who isn't self-aware may agree to do the task, fail at it, and consequently get upset about it. The second is self-regulation. Self-regulation is the ability to control your feelings and moods. Imagine you're a person who thinks too much about your past mistakes. And imagine one day you buy a used car for $10,000, and the next day you see the same type of car, but in better condition for $8,000. You might feel angry and full of regret about buying the $10,000 car. If you're able to self-regulate, you can move on quickly from this disappointment. If, however, you can't self-regulate, you don't move on quickly. Instead, you keep blaming yourself for your bad decision. The third element is internal motivation. This means that you do an activity because you want to do it, and not because you earn a reward like money or a promotion. We all recognize internal motivation in people who really love their job or hobby. The fourth element is empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand how others feel. Empathetic people notice other people's emotional reactions and then acknowledge them rather than judge them. For example, if they see that someone looks unhappy after a work meeting, they won't avoid that person. They'll ask, "Is everything okay?" or "Did something happen at the meeting that upset you?" And following that, they'll listen as the person explains their feelings and not judge that person. The last element is social skills. People with good social skills communicate well. They tell others when they're doing a good job and support them when they need to make a change. Through good communication skills, they are able to build good relationships. For Goleman, social skills are friendliness with a purpose. Obviously, this is very true in business. If you show that you appreciate other people, there's a much better chance they'll want to do business with you. So, those are the 5 elements. Goleman's book doesn't explain how people can develop their emotional intelligence. Instead, it describes what emotional intelligence is. For workers and leaders alike, understanding the different aspects of emotional intelligence is important for creating a positive work environment.
What helps you to be successful in life? Your natural ability, how good you are at doing things, is obviously one factor. But your attitude, how you approach your work and the people around you, is another, probably more important factor. People invest a lot of time and money into improving their abilities or skills. But strangely, they don't always spend the same amount of time working on their attitude and their emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence helps you to build relationships in your work and personal life. And just like skills, it's something that can be improved with training. So, how can we improve our emotional intelligence? The first thing is to start noticing your emotions at different times in the day. How did you feel this morning? Maybe you felt stressed when you woke up. And then you felt a bit confused when a colleague complimented you on your work. Try to notice if there are patterns to your feelings. Have you felt like this before? Then think about how these emotions affected you through the day. The second thing is to try to manage these emotions. Try to be objective about your feelings and to see the positives as well as the negatives. You felt stressed because you woke up late and you knew you had loads to do. But maybe you needed the extra sleep. You felt confused because you didn't know if your colleague was really saying that your work is good or that you don't usually do good work. But most likely, he was complimenting you. Sometimes it's difficult to see a positive. You're depressed because you didn't get that job you really wanted, but you shouldn't be overwhelmed by negative thoughts. Instead, just allow them to pass over you. Then think about what you're going to do to work through the situation. What about handling other people's emotions? Showing empathy is a key part of emotional intelligence, too. In fact, it's probably the most important factor in how others see you. One key to this is to be an active listener. That means acknowledging other people's feelings and asking the right questions. Imagine that a colleague who you like and value tells you that he's really frustrated with his job. In fact, he says he's ready to resign. You ask him, "Why do you feel that way? How did the situation get so bad?" Your colleague explains that his boss never listens to his suggestions. You ask, "How would resigning make you feel?" "Yeah, probably even more frustrated," he admits. So, without needing to give an opinion yourself, you have shown empathy and helped your colleague understand his own emotional reactions. The second key to understanding others' feelings is to learn to read facial expressions and body language. Sometimes these are very clear. In a look of disgust, the eyebrows may go down and the nose and lips come up. True happiness or joy is indicated by a smiling mouth and smiling eyes. But most of the time, expressions are more subtle, what we call micro-expressions. These are smaller expressions that appear only for a second and then are gone. A slight wrinkling of the nose, or a momentary smile and narrowing of the eyes. Can you tell what emotion is being expressed here? Or here? The first was sadness. The second was anger. As you develop emotional intelligence and become more aware of expressions and micro-expressions, you'll be better able to react appropriately at work, school, or almost anywhere. At the same time, you'll learn more about your own expressions and learn to notice your own emotions.